Europe affects us in our everyday lives now in Europeans.
Remembering Sarajevo both when it was united and divided. 24 years ago, the Bosnian capital hosted the Winter Olympics. But just a few years after, triumph turned to tragedy when the country erupted into the worst European conflict since World War II. This is the Pantanima Choir. Its members come from different ethnic and religious backgrounds. Ivo Markovic is a Croatian Catholic priest who founded the choir just after the war.
Music is a powerful tool to heal people. Reconciliation for me is first of all healing. When people listen to this symphony, they feel that these religions, these people here, is much more nearer than they experience in the war. There is hope.
It's been 12 years since the Dayton Peace Accord silenced the guns, and while Sarajevo is healing, reminders of the war are never far. But Sarajevo, like Bosnia-Herzegovina itself, remains divided both along ethnic and geographical lines. Dayton provided two sovereign states, the Muslim Croat Federation and the Republic of Srpska. Sarajevo remained the united capital. It also provided for a central government and rotating presidency, but each entity had its own army, parliament, tax system and police force, a complicated system. But at the time it seemed the best answer to end a war which had killed more than 200,000 people and displaced over 1 million. Dayton also ended the siege of Sarajevo, which was the longest in the history of modern warfare. Haris Silajic is the Bosniak member of the BiH presidency. He was prime minister during the war and has never accepted the separation of his country.
Bosnia-Herzegovina has been a state or state entity for almost 1,000 years. So Bosnia will remain there. The question is, what kind of Bosnia? Is it Bosnia made on genocide or made on civic democracy? Shall we legalize the genocide just for the sake of political expediency, or because those are the realities and so on? Or shall we say that the genocide cannot stand? That's a choice of the international community too.
But after 12 years of overseeing BiH, the international community wants Bosnians themselves to choose their future. Not an easy task. Last December, tensions escalated when Muslim, Serb and Croat politicians could not agree on constitutional reforms deemed crucial for European integration. And Kosovo's looming independence hasn't helped. Serb nationalists have threatened to hold a referendum on the republic's independence. Milorad Zivkovic is a member of Srpska's ruling political party. He says the republic only threatens to hold a referendum when they feel threatened.
The referendum has arisen as a rhetorical question. Some forces in the Bosnia-Herzegovina Federation have openly asked for the Republika Srpska to disappear. This is anti-constitutional and anti-Dayton. In response to this comes a request for a referendum, which is still a regular and democratic expression of the will of the people of Bosnia-Herzegovina.
During Sarajevo's siege, this tunnel was the only way out of the city. It was also the only way for thousands of refugees from the east.
It took 4 months and 4 days to build this small tunnel, but now it's only 25 meters of it left. At that time it was 800 meters long and it wasn't this dry, it was wet.
Today it's a museum. Edis Kolar is the curator. He should be. He helped dig the tunnel which went from his house to the other side of the airport. Kolar was a soldier on the Muslim side. He admits the museum is a constant reminder of the war. But he also says it's time to move on, to change, starting with the names of the entities.
The name is wrong, you know, I told you. Even the name Federation is wrong here, and the name Republic of Srpska also. For people who lost somebody, it's for them remembrance that they had that terrible time before. We are divided now, and you can't fix that again. People, it's 12 years after the war, you know, people find another homes, you know. This is divided, but they should just move those remembrance, you know, from this country.
The east of Sarajevo signals the beginning of the Republic of Srpska, symbol and reminder of Bosnia's division. It's a 10-minute drive to Pula from Sarajevo, but the cities are worlds apart. Pula was a small village on the mountain's foothills until Radovan Karadzic turned it into his headquarters during the war. Completely isolated towards the end of the conflict, today it has a population of 30,000 and new buildings everywhere, mostly to house Serbs who fled Sarajevo. Ostoja Avlias is one of them. He lives here with his mother. Today he runs an NGO which counsels youths. When asked whether he worries Kosovo's independence will push the Republic of Srpska in the same direction, he's bitter. He blames nationalist politicians for his current fate.
Whatever the future of Bosnia-Herzegovina, it must be one of consensus, of the different peoples and the citizens. We cannot get everything we want, but all of us can gain a lot more if we enter the European Union. And in rejoining Europe, we must prove our European values.
Moving towards European integration, it's Bosnia's common political thread, and some might argue the only one. While the Bosniak politicians want a more central state, both Serbs and even Croats argue for federation based on ethnic entities. Bosnia's High Representative admits that Dayton means status quo. No moving backwards, but no moving forwards either.
We have three legitimate versions which are impossible to combine. They are totally incompatible, and therefore to proceed with constitutional talks at this stage is not realistic, and therefore I also suggest that we continue a discussion on this subject after this country has entered in more serious stage of European integration.
This is a sight not even imaginable 5 years ago. It's the BiH army made up of Muslim, Serb and Croat soldiers who are equally represented along the country's population, 49, 33 and 11% respectively. While just over a decade ago they were fighting each other, today they're a single army active in such missions as Iraq. It's being hailed as a success story, unlike the police reforms.
The defense reform was associated with the NATO membership, which was pretty close by. The police reform is associated with EU membership, which seemed to be a little bit farther down the road. And whenever certain local politician or politician representing a specific ethnic policy within Bosnia wants to please his supporters, and he uses some fields that are burning, that to some extent are actual and hot.
It's hoped that soon Bosnia will sign the EU Stabilization Association Agreement, a key step towards European integration and an incentive for reforms aimed at ending ethnic divisions which continue to haunt this Balkan country.